Vorkin had landed on 47 World without fear. He had walked on frozen planets, toxic planets, silent planets. Nothing ever surprised him. But Earth was different. That IT was the first planet where the sand tried to eat him. Vorkin had been doing this job for 17 cycles. In all that time, one rule had always been true. Primitive planets were boring, predictable, safe. The kind of missions given to new recruits or to experienced scouts who were counting down to retirement. Earth, according to the scans, was a simple world. Oxygen and nitrogen atmosphere, point 0.1 yellow star, point 0.1 large moon, abundant water. The native species had barely reached basic chemical propulsion. They were still burning fossil fuels. This was going to be the easiest assignment of his career that he adjusted. His advanced environmental suit. It was rated for extreme conditions from deep space cold to the surface of a star. Nothing could damage it. Nothing. The landing craft touched down on a remote beach. Perfect location, no cities nearby, and no life detected in the immediate area. Just stable sand and open water. Vorkin stepped down confidently. Warm air rushed around him. The smell hit his sensors: salt, organic matter, decay. Primitive planets always smelled like something was rotting, but he ignored it. His suit scanned automatically. Temperature, normal. Humidity, acceptable. Threat level, 0. Good. He extended his sampling arm and bent down toward the sand. That was when he noticed something strange. The sand was moving, not shifting in the wind. Moving with purpose. He paused. His sensors updated instantly. Thousands of small thermal signatures under the surface, burrowing organisms. That was normal for beaches. Probably harmless filter feeders. Vorkin relaxed. Then the sand exploded. Dozens of armored creatures burst out at once, clicking and scraping across the ground. They were small, about the size of his hand. Hard red shells, 0.8 legs, sharp claws. His database identified them immediately. Crustaceans, crabs, threat level, negligible. Primary behavior, scavenging, excellent. He lowered his guard completely. They were just local wildlife, nothing more. Then more emerged. Dozens became hundreds. Hundreds surrounded him. They formed a semicircle around his landing craft, claws raised. Clicking sounds filled the air. Vorkin's suit sensors began, warning him about increasing movement. Still, he stayed calm. Just territorial behavior, he muttered. He took one step backward. The crab surged forward as one of his threat meter jumped from 0 to critical in an instant. Point 0.1 crab latched onto his suit. Then another. Sharp pressure hit his lower appendage. His suit was rated for micrometeor impacts that IT should have been impossible to penetrate. Warning, the suit announced calmly. External breach detected. Vorkin froze. That's not possible, he said. More crabs climbed onto him. Their claws found seams, joints, weak points. He tried to shake them off. Several flew into the air. They landed and immediately returned. They were relentless. For every one removed, 2 replaced it. Then panic began to set in. This was not in any manual, not in any training simulation, not on any world he had visited before. The sand was alive, and it was attacking. Vorkin tried to stay calm. He had faced radiation storms, engine failures, hostile negotiations. This was just wildlife. But the crabs were not acting like wildlife. They were climbing, using his suit like a ladder. Their claws scraped against the armored surface. Warning lights flashed inside his helmet. Structural integrity compromised, the suit announced. That was impossible. The suit was military-grade. That IT had survived extreme heat, vacuum exposure, and debris impacts, and yet small crustaceans were breaching it. Vorkin shook his leg violently. Several crabs fell off. Immediately, more replaced them. They kept coming, from under the sand, from everywhere. His sensors now showed movement extending at least 50 meters in every direction. This was not a small group. This was an army that he attempted to retreat toward the landing craft. Running in soft sand while covered in aggressive arthropods was much harder than expected. He moved only a few meters before stumbling. He fell face first into the beach. Sand filled his vision. Claws continued clicking around him. Panic replaced logic that he rolled on his back. A mistake. Now they had access to the front seals of his suit. One crab tried to pry open his helmet joint. Another worked at his elbow connection. Vorkin activated his emergency comm link. "This is Scout Vorkin," he gasped, requesting immediate extraction. There was a pause, then laughter from orbit. "Vorkin," communications officer Telex said, barely controlling amusement. "You've been on the surface for 4 minutes." "Yes," Vorkin shouted, "and I would very much like to not be here anymore. According to our scans, there is no hostile life in your landing zone." "They are under the sand," he yelled. "They are on my suit. They are eating it." Another crab found a weak point and pinched through. The suit issued another warning. Multiple breaches detected. Telex sounded concerned now. "Vorkin, your stress levels are elevated. There is no indication of lethal threat. Perhaps return to the ship and run diagnostics." Vorkin felt insulted. He had survived 17 cycles of exploration. He did not have anxiety episodes. "Activate external cameras," he said firmly. "Fine," Telex replied. The suit's cameras turned on. Every single external feed showed the same thing. Crabs on his legs, on his torso, and on his shoulders. One large specimen stood directly in front of his visor, waving its claws aggressively. Silence followed from orbit. Finally, Telex spoke. "Vorkin, what did you do?" "I landed. That's it. That is literally all I did." Another wave of crabs surged forward. His threat assessment spiked again. He struggled to stand. Crabs fell off like rain, but immediately returned. The beach was no longer sand. It was movement. Thousands of armored bodies shifting beneath the surface. Vorkin's breathing became uneven. "This planet should not exist," he muttered. Then he saw something that changed everything. The crabs were no longer scattering in fear. They were organized, forming patterns, forming a perimeter, and from the water's edge, something larger was emerging, very large. Vorkin froze. The sand stopped moving. All the smaller crabs paused. They created a clear path. Out of the ocean stepped a creature far bigger than the rest. 1/2 meter across, massive claws, heavy shell, eyes fixed directly on him. Vorkin's database updated slowly. Crustacean variant, an unknown aggression pattern recorded. That was no longer reassuring. The giant crab clacked its claws together. The sound echoed across the beach. Vorkin felt something new, true. Fear. Behind it, the smaller crabs waited, as if obeying. Vorkin slowly backed toward his ship. The giant crab advanced, deliberate, confident that Vorkin's suit calculated new threat levels. The numbers were no longer stable. He whispered into the comm. "Reclassify this world." "On what basis?" Telex asked. Vorkin stared at the massive creature. "Dominant species assessment required." Then the giant crab charged. The giant crab moved faster than Vorkin expected. It charged across the sand with surprising speed. Vorkin turned and ran. Behind him, the smaller crabs followed in waves. His landing craft was only a short distance away, but the sand itself felt like it was fighting him. His feet sank with every step. Claws scraped against his suit. He could hear the clicking growing louder, like an army closing in. "Extraction immediately," he shouted into his comm from orbit. Telex replied, now serious. "Vorkin, your vitals are unstable. What's the threat level?" Vorkin glanced back. The giant crab was only meters away. Its claws snapped at the air. "Threat level increasing," he said as he reached the ramp. The door began its slow retraction sequence. Too slow. The giant crab leapt. Its massive claws snapped shut exactly where his leg had been. The ramp sealed with a hiss. Vorkin collapsed inside the ship. Safe, for now. Breathing heavily, he leaned against the wall. Outside, he could hear tapping, scraping, hundreds of claws against metal. Telex's voice came through. "Report." Vorkin removed his helmet with shaking movements. "I was attacked." "By what?" "By the sand." There was silence. Then Telex said carefully, "Vorkin, are you certain you are stable?" Vorkin activated his camera feed again. The external monitors showed the beach. It was covered in crabs, thousands of them, forming a living carpet around the ship. Even the giant one stood near the ramp, watching. Telex stopped laughing completely. "By the spiral, they breached my suit," Vorkin said. That is military-grade armor, Telex replied. I am aware. His frustration mixed with fear. Then something new appeared on the horizon to the sound. Mechanical. Deep. Rhythmic. Vorkin's sensors detected combustion engines. Primitive. Approaching from the sea, he switched cameras. A boat was moving toward the beach. Simple. Old. White paint peeling. Smoke coming from the exhaust on the side. Faded letters read. Real lucky. Vorkin felt something worse than fear. Not again, he whispered. Two human figures stood aboard, tall, unarmored, bare skin exposed to the environment. They stepped closer to shore. Vorkin activated external speakers. Warning. Do not approach. The beach is dangerous. Hostile arthropods. One of the humans cupped his hands. What's that? Vorkin tried again. Crabs. Thousands of them. The human paused, then turned back toward the boat. Oi, Baz. Alien bloke says the crabs damaged his suit. Another human appeared. Broader. He looked at the beach to see the moving carpet of crabs. Then he said casually, oh yeah, that's normal. Vorkin froze. Normal? Before he could respond, one human grabbed a pole with a net and jumped into the water, directly toward the crabs. Vorkin's systems went into alert mode. What are you doing? He shouted. The human laughed, making lunch, and walked straight onto the beach. The crabs surged toward him instantly. Vorkin watched in disbelief. The human did not run, did not panic. He simply stepped forward, crushed several crabs under his boots, used the pole to flip others aside, then bent down and picked them up. Bare hands, he grabbed them by their shells, even as they waved their claws, and tossed them into a bucket like they were nothing. Vorkin stared. His database could not process this behavior. The humans were not afraid, not injured, not even cautious. They were collecting the attackers. For food. One of them started heating a metal plate over a small fire, then melted yellow fat onto it. Butter. They were cooking the crabs. Vorkin's mind struggled to understand. His species had spent generations avoiding predators. These humans were casually turning predators into dinner. One human walked over to the ship, knocked on the hull. Come out, mate. Vorkin hesitated. His suit was damaged, but something about their confidence. He slowly opened the hatch. The smell of cooked crustacean filled the air. Strangely, it did not smell dangerous. It smelled good. And for the first time since landing, Vorkin realized something shocking. The planet was not trying to kill humans. Vorkin stepped out of the ship slowly. The beach was no longer chaos. The crabs had retreated slightly from the fire. The moment the humans started cooking them, the aggression changed. It was almost respect. The giant crabs still lingered near the water, watching, but even at no longer advanced. One of the humans noticed Vorkin standing awkwardly near the ramp. All right, mate? He asked casually. Vorkin did not understand the tone. Was this a threat? A challenge? A diplomatic greeting? His translator confirmed it was friendly. Yes, Vorkin replied carefully. I believe I am surviving. The human grinned. Good. You look shaken. Shaken. That was accurate. His suit was damaged. Several breaches were visible. But the human seemed unconcerned. They continued cooking. Butter sizzling. Garlic spreading into the air. Vorkin watched as they handled the crabs without gloves, without armor, without fear. These creatures breached my suit, Vorkin said. The human shrugged. Yeah, they'll nip you if you're careless. Nip. That word felt too small for what had happened. Vorkin pointed toward the giant crab. That specimen attempted to remove my limb. The human glanced at it. Oh, that's Big Bastard. Big Bastard. The name was delivered with casual humor. The human walked toward the massive crab. Vorkin's sensors spiked. Do not approach, he warned. The human ignored him. The giant crab raised its claws, but instead of attacking, it hesitated. Then it backed slightly toward the water. The human stopped just short of it, smiled, then turned away in feared, in hesitation. Vorkin stared in disbelief that on 17 cycles of surveys, he had never seen behavior like this. These humans treated apex predators as background noise. The second human approached with a container. They continued preparing food. The beach was calm now. Vorkin scanned again. Threat level. Recalculating. Crabs no longer attacking. Large crab observing. Humans completely relaxed. He looked at his suit diagnostics. Multiple breaches to self-repair active. Structural integrity restored to 78%, but he was still alive. Despite everything, point one human handed him a small piece of cooked crab. Try it. Vorkin hesitated. IT had attacked him minutes ago. Now it was food. He accepted it cautiously. He sampled it. His biological systems processed the compounds instantly. Protein, fat, aromatic seasoning. Surprisingly pleasant. His sensors categorized it as acceptable. He looked at the humans. You are not concerned about the wildlife? The human laughed. Nah, it's just Tuesday. Tuesday, Dvorkin's translator confirmed this was a routine expression. Routine. This was routine. He looked again at the giant crab, but IT remained near the waterline. Watching, but no longer advancing. Almost like it understood the humans were not prey. Dvorkin's internal database struggled to update. If small crabs could breach Confederation armor, if reptiles and arthropods here behaved like organized forces, and humans casually overpowered them with bare hands, then the classification system was wrong. Very wrong. He spoke quietly into his comm. Commander, I need to revise Earth's threat level. From orbit, Telex replied, serious now. What is the updated assessment? Vorkin looked at the humans. Point one was laughing while flipping crabs and butter. The other was tending the fire calmly. They were unarmed, unarmored, unafraid. Earth is not a Class 3 world, he said. It is not even Class 7. What is it? Vorkin paused, then answered carefully. Reclassification to Class 12 minimum. There was silence on the line. And the humans? Telex asked. Vorkin watched as one human casually stepped on a crab that tried to climb his boot, then picked up another with bare fingers. Homo sapiens, he said slowly. Threat level. Catastrophic? Telex inhaled sharply. On what basis? Vorkin looked at the scene one final time. They live on a planet that should kill them daily, he said, and they treat it as normal. He activated his ship's systems, prepared to depart. But before returning inside, he added one final observation to his report. Species demonstrates no fear response to apex predators, capable of direct physical dominance over native megafauna. Survival achieved through adaptability, resilience, and extreme tolerance for environmental hazard. He paused, then concluded, humans are not dangerous because they are aggressive. They are dangerous because they are comfortable in conditions that eliminate others. Below, the humans waved. Come back anytime, one shouted. Vorkin hesitated, then gave a cautious wave back. His suit finished repairing the final breach. He boarded his ship, prepared for launch. Vorkin sat in his command chair inside the ship. Earth filled the main screen. Blue oceans, Greenland. White clouds slowly moving across the surface. From a distance, it looked peaceful, beautiful, harmless. But Vorkin now knew better. His report was open in front of him. The cursor blinked in the threat assessment field. He had rewritten it 3 times. The first version had sounded hysterical. The second sounded too calm. Now, he typed carefully. Earth environmental hazards exceed initial scan parameters. Native wildlife demonstrates extreme aggression relative to size. Beach arthropods capable of breaching military-grade environmental suits. Reptilian predators of significant scale coexist near human settlements. Neurotoxic flora tolerated in populated regions. He paused, then added a new section. Human species assessment requires full revision. He leaned back, his eye stalks lowered in exhaustion. 17 cycles of surveying. And this was the report that would define his career. Not about alien technology, not about advanced civilizations, but about a planet that survived by refusing to die. He finished the final sentence. Recommend classification, Class 12 Death World. Contact restricted. Do not disturb protocol advised. He hesitated before sending it, then pressed transmit. The response came quickly, unusually quickly. Commander Thexus appeared on screen. Her tone was serious. Vorkin, I have reviewed your footage. A pause. The crabs are verified. Vorkin felt relief. At least that part is accepted. But, she continued, your assessment of humans remains extreme. Vorkin straightened. Commander, you saw the video? Yes. They assisted you. They wrestled a saltwater predator, Vorkin replied. They cooked the creatures that breached my suit, and they showed no fear. Thexis was silent for several seconds. Then she said something unexpected. Show me the additional transmission. At that moment, a new signal appeared. From Earth, from Pete's boat. Vorkin accepted it. Pete's face filled the screen. Still smiling, still relaxed. Just wanted to say thanks again, mate. Pete said, we don't get many visitors from space. Vorkin looked at him carefully. This planet is classified as extremely dangerous. Pete laughed. Dangerous? Nah, this is the safe bit. Vorkin blinked. Safe? Yeah, you should see the outback. Pete replied casually. Vorkin processed that. The conversation ended. The ship fell into silence. Commander Thexis spoke again. Vorkin. Yes, Commander. Based on your footage, she paused. Humans appear to be apex predators. Vorkin nodded slowly. Yes. They show no instinctive fear of native megafauna. Yes. They survive on a world that contains venomous flora, large reptiles, aggressive arthropods, and extreme environmental variability. Yes. Thexis leaned closer to the camera. Then why are they still alive? Vorkin looked back at Earth. He remembered the beach, the crabs, the giant one, the humans walking barefoot through danger like it was normal. Then he answered quietly, because they adapted, they did not eliminate the danger. They learned to live beside it. The commander was silent. Vorkin continued. They treat lethal threats as routine. They turn predators into meals. They relocate creatures larger than themselves. They laugh while doing it. Another pause. Then Thexis made a decision. Earth will be placed under restricted contact. No survey missions. No diplomatic attempts. No interference. We leave it alone. Vorkin felt relief spread through his system. And if they develop faster than light travel, he asked. Thexis looked at him calmly. Then the galaxy will learn the same lesson you did. Vorkin waited. What lesson is that? She answered, that strength is not measured by armor. It is measured by adaptation. And humans do not survive because their planet is gentle. They survive because it is not. The transmission ended. Vorkin powered down the external systems. Below him, Earth rotated peacefully, blue and green. From orbit, it looked harmless, but he now understood the truth that IT was not Earth that was terrified at IT was what Earth had produced. Creatures that considered neurotoxic plants normal, that wrestled crocodiles for fun, that treated hostile wildlife as a regular Tuesday. Vorkin updated the final line of his report. He added one last note. Do not engage under any circumstances. Then he initiated departure. His ship accelerated away from the planet. A final message pinged through. From Pete. Forgot to mention, if you ever need backup, give us a call. We're always up for an adventure. Vorkin stared at the message, then quietly deleted it. That he leaned back in his seat, and for the first time in his career, he felt grateful. Not for survival, but for distance. Earth remained below, beautiful from afar, deadly up close, and the galaxy would leave it alone. For now.